Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome to the webinar, Getting to the Finish Line, Unique Post-Secondary Barriers Adult Students Face. I'm your host, Kathy McDonald, Assistant Director of Network Partnerships with the Florida College Access Network. I'm thrilled to welcome on our call today Dr. Michelle Horton, who is the Director for Complete Florida at the University of West Florida Innovation Institute. As part of the statewide degree completion initiative, Dr. Horton focuses on program development designed to support the adult learner return to college. Dr. Horton began her career in higher education in 2006. Prior to her position with the University of West Florida, Dr. Horton served as the director of Pensacola State College, South Santa Rosa Center. Her background includes student and community development. She serves on the board of directors for Innovation Coast and the Articulation Committee for the Teach Early Childhood Scholarship Program. She has a master's degree in administration with an emphasis in human performance technology from the University of West Florida and a doctorate in higher education leadership from Nova Southeastern University. I'm also pleased to welcome to our webinar today John Clark. He's a recent graduate from the University of West Florida and completed a degree in network system operations and participated in the Complete Florida program. He now works with Complete Florida as a program manager, working on technology-based solutions for scaling their work with adult learners. Now, before we get started with today's presentation, a few housekeeping items. First, we welcome your questions. This is all about us learning together, so please submit your questions in the box, which you should see on the right side of your control panel if you are viewing from a desktop computer. We will allot time at the end of today's call for our guest presenters to answer questions, but you can submit them at any time, and I encourage you to do so. Second, please share what you're learning on your favorite social media platform using the hashtags FCAN, Complete Florida, and Adult Learners. You can also find us on Twitter at FL College Access and Facebook at Florida College Access Network. Finally, this webinar is being recorded. All materials will be available within a week of the recording, though you can find a couple of handouts in the handout section of your control panel now. If you click on your handouts, you'll see that the slides are there, as well as a one-page handout entitled Alternative College Course Credit Options, which we'll discuss a little bit on today's call. Now, I know we have quite a few new listeners today that are new to FCAN's work, so let me give you a little bit of background of who we are. Our mission is to create and strengthen a statewide network that catalyzes and supports communities to improve college and career readiness, access, and completion for all students. Our vision is to see that at least 60% of working-age Floridians hold a high-quality post-secondary degree or credential by the year 2025. We accomplish our work in three primary ways. First, we support the formation and growth of local college access networks, which are multi-sector strategic alliances collaborating to ensure more students succeed in preparing for tomorrow's jobs. The majority of jobs in the next decade will require education beyond high school, and LCANs help students by fostering participation between education institutions, community organizations, business leaders, government, and philanthropy. 78.3% of the state's population is now supported by an LCAN, a multi-sector approach to college and career readiness. Second, our research, data, and policy work seeks to produce student-centered research and policy analysis. That team acts as a clearinghouse for college and career readiness, access, and completion data, and it develops local, state, and national partnerships and policy alignment around degree attainment. Finally, under our College Ready Florida umbrella, we encourage and support high schools and community groups throughout the state of Florida to support students in completing a college application, filling out their FAFSA, and helping them start college every fall. We now have over 300 schools throughout the state participating in at least one of our statewide initiatives to help students get into college and afford the education beyond high school that supports their goals. Now on for today's topic. Let's set the stage. And before I give you a little bit of background about our adult students, let's fire off a poll. Let's see here. See if we can launch that. Great. So if you all can, you should see the quick poll on your screen. What are the biggest concerns that the adult students you work with face? You can select all that apply. So go ahead and start voting now. Your choices are feeling ready for college level coursework, flexibility, such as courses fitting within their life, having transfer credits accepted at the new institution, financial aid issues, and work-life and school balance or time management. So we'll give you a couple more seconds to vote here. Okay, one more second. Okay, let's go ahead and close that out. Let's share those results with everyone. It looks like time management is the winner. We're also seeing financial aid issues is pretty high, flexibility. So a little bit of everything, but time management is key, as is flexibility. Okay, great. That's great to know. Whoops. Okay, so let me go ahead and hide that poll. And let's go ahead and share a little bit about our adult students. First, they make up a large segment of the post-secondary student population. 37% of our college students are age 25 and older. 2.2 million Florida adults have some college credit but no credential, and 3/4 of them are juggling some combination of work, school, and family while commuting to class, which our poll just supported. These students face some unique challenges in returning to college. The great news is these students come with some college credit that they've already earned, but they also have a history that may need to be considered. They may bring an uneven course credit history, which is complicating what they can accomplish now. You know, some of these students initially started when they were 18, but decided for one reason or another to stop out because they weren't quite ready. And now here they are back 10 years later and feeling a little like they're having to pay for mistakes that they made when they were just quite frankly too young and weren't quite ready for the rigor. They may have exhausted their financial aid during previous attempts to earn a credential or have a credit hold, for instance. And some now are dealing with complicated life where they're juggling a lot of different responsibilities, making the time that they can invest each term in their schoolwork limited. So with that, I would love to turn it over to our guest speaker, Michelle, who can share a little bit about what they know through Complete Florida, the survey they did with their students, and all of the work that they're doing to help students overcome some of these barriers. So let me go ahead and change controls here. Michelle, okay, you should have control now.
Okay, thank you, Kathy, and good afternoon. And I want to take the opportunity to let you know that we appreciate the opportunity to talk about our work with adult learners returning to college. Again, my name is Michelle Horton, and I have our project manager, who is a Complete Florida graduate, John Clark, with us. And today we plan to review the Complete Florida initiative and why it's important. We will also share what we have learned about barriers adult students face and talk about ways to alleviate some of those barriers. And we'll end with a review of how we can work together to increase degree and credential attainment in the state of Florida. I want to start with really an introduction to Complete Florida. Complete Florida is a statewide degree completion initiative created by the 2013 Florida legislature and administered by the University of West Florida. Complete Florida was created to serve Florida's 2 million plus working age adults who have some college credit but no degree. The goal is to bring these former college students back to college and support them through the attainment of a certificate or degree that is aligned to a high skill, high wage, high demand job in Florida. And the way we conduct our work is through partnerships with colleges and universities throughout the state, that offer accessible, affordable, and accelerated options for people with some college credit and no bachelor degree. We currently work with 5 public universities, 5 public state colleges, and 4 private universities. And the foundation of our work is the use of a concierge-based coaching model. Each applicant to our program is assigned a coach who works with the student from initial inquiry to enrollment and on to graduation, making sure that they have the support that addresses their unique needs. In the last 3+ years, we've learned a lot about the need to reach this population of students and what it takes to help them succeed. As mentioned earlier, there are 2.2 million working age adults in Florida who have started college but haven't finished. And we know that the majority of these students are working adults, many with families, and so their time and their resources are very precious. According to the National Center for Education Statistics, 40% of all U.S. college students are adults returning to college. So that means that we really need to take the approach of how do we best serve these students and in what ways can we prepare them for success. According to the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity, by the year 2024, it is estimated that 6.3 million Florida jobs will require a post-secondary credential. Yet currently there are only 4.7 million working age Floridians with post-secondary credentials, which means we need to add another 1.6 million more over the next 7 years. Adult learners with some college credit but no degree are the state's best resource for meeting this shortfall in the state's workforce. By tapping into this pool of people who are already near degree completion, we can produce credentialed workers relatively quickly and affordably. But in order to do so effectively, we must address the unique needs and barriers associated with the adult learner returning to college. And so for the past 2 years, we've surveyed Complete Florida students. And one important note from our findings is that students returning to college perceive that they will experience barriers at a higher level than they actually do. And I think this is a great finding because what it means is that although these barriers exist, we have a population of people who are resilient enough to really meet those requirements of completing their degree. So let's talk about those top barriers for adult learners. And many of you already noted that in the poll. Time, money, and navigating the right path, how to get started, was another one that was really key to our particular population of students that we've worked with. They didn't know where to start. So when you think about time, and our students are telling us that they're trying to identify how they can fit one more thing in their life. But the great news is that they do have the experience to manage their time. So what's really needed is that guidance of where to begin and how to get started, and in what ways can they access the format of courses that best meets their particular needs. So time is something that comes up over and over again. How am I going to fit anything in? And so we have some solutions that we've been providing students. The other barrier is money. Many people have maybe exhausted their financial aid, or they don't know what other options there are to continue their education and to fund it. So they're concerned that maybe they won't be able to really fill that need of accessing the tuition funds or the book funds or whatever funds they may need to complete their degree. And that is something that they often think of as, you know, I can't go back because I can't afford it. And lastly, one of the top barriers is navigating the right path. So many of these students that we work with Complete Florida, they have credits from long ago, and they're just not quite sure how those credits will apply today. They're not quite sure what options they have in order to utilize those credits. And they're not sure about their past experience. Are they going to experience the same thing or the same types of barriers that they did years ago and just end up failing again? So in their minds, sometimes they feel like they actually failed when actually what we know is just life got in the way. And so we really provide that support to navigate that path that meets the individual need of the student. So we have an opportunity to talk to one of our students today. I have John Clark with us, and it's really important to listen to the experiences of our students. We're constantly finding that we can learn from these experiences, and what we learn, we are setting up ways to help students alleviate some of those barriers that they experience as they return to college and help them finish their degrees a little quicker. So I'm going to introduce John Clark. He recently graduated from the University of West Florida, and he has the experience of participating in Complete Florida. He is the student who started college and had some college credit years ago and decided to come back and finish his degree. So John, welcome.
Thank you, Michelle. You know, as you guys noted in your poll, and as Michelle's been saying, I too faced these exact same barriers. I, you know, decided to make this decision to go back to school at the age of 46. And my 46-year-old self was quite different from my 18-year-old self. So that played a big factor. But in doing so, there were all those time obligations. And, you know, Kathy mentioned earlier mistakes when you're young. My 18-year-old self, I was very lucky. I got accepted to some great colleges and, you know, more or less squandered that opportunity. I did not take advantage of being able to embrace the college environment and really do well at that young age. So in the way, life got in the way, and tried many times. I mentioned failure. So there were opportunities at various points in my life where I could get some kind of tuition reimbursement from somewhere I worked, or I just decided, yep, I'm going back to school and I'm going to take these courses, and I would do so, and then a semester later something else came up and I would quit again. So when I heard about the Complete Florida program, it sort of was that perfect fit for me, because you know, needing to pay for school would have meant not only the work I was doing, but having to pile on even more work to pay for that. And I didn't know where to start. I had those D's that wouldn't transfer for a class that no one should ever have to take twice. And I didn't know that a school like University of West Florida would even accept me at that point, based on my transcripts and everything else that I had going on in life. So being able to get in the program and having that coach helped guide the path. They helped me determine the best way for me to enter the program, even to the point of my coach said I had a specific program I thought I wanted to get in, and he's the one that suggested, hey, do you mind if I send your transcript to UWF as well? I think they may give you more credits for your previous schooling, and they did by about 20 credits, which is a considerable amount of time. So that really helped, having that coach or that mentor to help me through things. The scholarship, of course, was invaluable because it meant not having to work more. And the time factor, I learned, it was a huge fear of mine, but I learned that, you know, as adults, we already juggle 20 or 30 things. So making that 21 or 31 things really isn't that bad, and you can get through that. And another, I'm going to step back again and speak to the coach and how that really helps. You know, adults have learned over time that it's not necessarily having to follow every step to do something. There are better ways and more efficient ways to do things. And we learn that when we have to go renew our tags or anything else, and we dread that bureaucratic process. And by having that coach as an advocate, it really helped streamline and speed up that process and actually get me in, get me registered, and get me taking classes. So I personally think I'm the poster child of the adult learner, and why Complete Florida, the program itself, is so successful.
So do you think it really was more like the navigation of learning of those options? There just are so many to explore. And you mentioned you were working at the time, so you probably had a limited time anyway.
Absolutely. You know, at 18, you're herded into what you're supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
You show up on registration day and somebody tells you what classes you have to take, and you kind of go on and do as you're told. And as an adult, you know that that's not necessarily the way, but you don't know what the way is either. And so having that person to help you and tell you, hey, here is a way, that makes a huge difference. And it does. It removes that barrier of, I don't have time to go look this up. I don't have time to call 5 different places. I don't have time to go figure out how I'm supposed to get this transcript from 20 years ago.
Right. I think that's a really good point you make too, because it's not that you never wanted to do it.
Right.
It was really a matter of the time and needing to find resources that were really, or options that were really relevant to you specifically.
Right.
So, well, thank you for sharing your story,
Absolutely.
John. And so we want to talk a little bit more about how we have addressed these particular barriers with people who've decided it's time for me to return to college. And what we've known is the biggest area that that our students need is flexibility. But I wanted to turn it over to Kathy real quick and see if we could put up the poll that we had for these particular barriers.
Hi, Michelle. I fired it, and I believe our audience is seeing the poll on their screen.
Okay,
so go ahead and start voting. The quick poll is, what are the biggest financial hurdles your adult students face that you're aware of? This is a select one, so financial aid exhausted, credit hold, student loan default, attending part-time, so they have limited financial aid options and don't have upfront money for tuition reimbursement programs. If you haven't voted, go ahead and do that now. Give it a couple more seconds. Great, lots of great responses here. Another second. Okay, we're going to go ahead and close that out, and let's share the results of that. So financial aid, exhausted, and attending part-time limited financial aid options are the lead contenders there. So that, we are still seeing some credit holds and some student loan defaults, but the biggies are the limited financial aid options and financial aid. So I'm going to go ahead and hide that so we can switch back to Michelle here. Okay,
great. Thank you, Kathy. And so as we're looking at some of these options for removing barriers, not only is affordability a big barrier for our students, but it's the flexibility. And what we hear from adult learners very often is, I needed a different format to take these classes. I needed accelerated options. I needed to be able to go in and out as I might work heavy one week and have a lighter workload the next week. I needed to be able to go back and forth between my classes. And then the accessibility of it, being able to take some online classes, was really key to this population of students. They're already managing their life, but they needed a flexible way to manage their education built into that daily work and family balancing. So many of our partner institutions offer accelerated courses, and one of the student examples I showed earlier was someone who said they liked the ability to take the shorter courses, 7 to 8 weeks, paired with another 7 to 8 week course in the same term. So what that does is it allows students to take a manageable workload, like 1 or 2 classes each term, but pair it with shorter courses so that they can actually get a full-time load in the same semester. And that not only helps with acceleration, it also addresses the affordability piece as well, because if they're able to maintain a full-time status as a college student, they might qualify for more funding through financial aid. And then the other option that many of our partners offer is self-paced learning. Again, some of the careers that our students are already in, especially the healthcare careers where it might be EMTs or nursing, they have various schedules where they might have a heavy workload week, a few days, and then the next week they might have more time off. So they need an easy way to pace their own work. And then all of our programs offer fully online programs, but still students might prefer to take some classes online. They might prefer a hybrid option. It's just really important to give options, because there won't be one option that will best meet the needs of everyone. When we're looking at adult learners that are working full-time and they're raising their families, they need multiple options to choose from, and it might be some of everything that's listed here.
Okay, sorry, Michelle, I actually fired the wrong poll with the last one. So we have some advanced information here, but let's do a quick poll, and let's do a quick check-in about what approaches designed to support adult students, particularly around that flexibility that Michelle was just talking about. Are you seeing your local institutions providing? So this is a select all that apply, shorter term length, online courses, emergency fund scholarships, accepting prior learning assessments, and accepting CLEP credit. Go ahead and vote. And if any of you are curious about what some of those options are, maybe you don't know what they are, don't be afraid to submit a question in the question box on your in your control panel. If you're not seeing the question box, you may need to hit the orange arrow in your control panel to open the panel up so that the question box appears. So let's give it one more second voting here. Okay, let's go ahead and close that out. We'll share those results. So it looks like quite a bit in online course offerings, and to a lesser extent accepting CLEP and shorter terms. So, but good mix here. So that gives us some sense of what everyone's doing. Okay, Michelle, back to you on affordability.
Thank you, Kathy. Yes, it is really important to have these conversations, because we do know that not every one student, there's not going to be a one size fits all. So it's important that we all understand what those options are for students and how to navigate them. The affordability piece is really key, and so many students think, well, I work and although I don't have enough income
Michelle, I've lost your audio there. Michelle, are you there?
We can't hear you, Michelle.
Okay. Michelle?
Can you hear me?
Okay, now we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So addressing affordability, there are multiple options other than financial aid. They include transfer credits from past work, alternative credit options such as CLEP exams or ACE credits that have been qualified through a particular organization. Also, prior learning assessment is another big piece where many people have years and years of industry experience that can translate into college credit. The other thing that we really are seeing a lot of our partners work on is open educational resources. And many of our partner institutions have developed textbook-free online courses. So what that means for students is if they're taking the online course, they don't have any other materials to purchase, such as expensive textbooks, and that helps them with affordability. Many of our partners are also focusing on different types of scholarships. Last mile scholarships are often key to help students finish that last little bit. And then through Complete Florida, we have a series of scholarships that help students in different ways based on either their military status or their progression towards a degree. So it's really important when you think about all of these options that, you know, you have that support to navigate them, kind of like an advocate. We always say we try to help our students become their best advocate as they return to college and navigate their path to completion. And speaking of navigation, the assessment of options is definitely key. It always surprises us that students aren't aware of some of these options. Like we mentioned earlier, CLEP exams are an option. Prior learning assessment are an option to earn credit from past work, and maybe course substitutions. And what we're finding is that at every institution, that might be called something different. We're also finding that there might be different ways to request those credits at each institution. So making sure that the student knows up front, these may be options at your institution, and this is how you should explore those options are key, because that can often be a barrier. As John mentioned earlier, many students don't have the time to research how they can earn those credits through alternative sources. So it's really important that we give them the right information up front. We found that a dedicated intake advising has worked very well with our partner institutions. When they dedicate resources specifically to people who have prior credit from years past, then they're able to really customize the advising based on that particular individual, as well as create a well-defined path to completion, because that's something that's very clear with the students that we work with. Even though many of them are coming back to us that have low GPAs in the past, the exciting part is they are very successful in earning high GPAs towards their completion of a degree. So it's not that they can't do it, it's they just need help getting there, and they need that support along the way. So when they do experience hiccups or life continues to get in the way, they have some sort of opportunity to connect with someone that can offer some additional assistance. So how can we help? This is not an effort that one person or one organization or one initiative can resolve today. It will be something that we need to focus on today and every day to prepare for the future and to prepare for our workforce, for Florida's economy. And one way that we do that is through creating support networks and building strategic partnerships. We have worked with organizations like Complete College America and their A Better Deal for Returning Adults strategy. We are working very strategically with the Florida College Access Network. We're sharing resources and tools with each other to build networks that focus on reaching the population of students that have some college credit and no degree. And then the Graduate Network is another national organization that really focuses on what they call comebackers and providing that really strategic guidance for people who want to return to college to complete their degree. So it's not just about working with institutions, but it's bringing in all the key stakeholders or all the influencers like employers and industry organizations to create these partnerships that focus on leveraging resources and truly removing barriers for returning adult students. And what we know is reaching that returning adult student can be challenging. And that's where we have to build these networks and develop strategic marketing initiatives that expand the outreach and reach more of the population who need our help, not only with navigating the options, but researching the options relevant to them to help reduce the time that it will take to get them back to college. Because as we've been working with other organizations, we have learned that this unique population of students needs to receive communication in a different way, and primarily that communication should be very relevant to how we can serve them and how we can best meet their needs. The Graduate Network's annual study that was just released in December of 2015 talked about the importance of 14 high interaction or high touch interactions from what they refer to as trusted source. And this trusted source could be an employer, it could be a friend or family member, it could be through a professional organization that the person is associated with, or the faith-based community. So returning adults require more initial interactions. In certain ways that we have helped expand our opportunity to reach people is through co-branded resources. So as we're working with our partner institutions, we've created things like stop out campaigns that introduce students who had stopped going to college to the coaching options that are a free resource through Complete Florida. We've worked with industry to develop promotional materials that support people maybe who have their associate's degree in a certain field, continue on to their bachelor's degree in that same field so they can be promoted within their career. And then we also focus on helping employers reach out to their employees and help them develop their workforce to meet their particular demands and the skill sets of their employees. So these are the types of things that we really have experienced to be success. It's not just reaching out to the student alone, but it's also reaching out to the students' trusted sources who they're connected with in a very strategic way. And what we believe that does is it provides very relevant information to students. We help find them where they are to help them get to where they need to be. And with that, I want to take the opportunity to open it up for any questions. We appreciate the opportunity to share what we've learned from the students that we've worked with within the last few years. And we would love to continue that conversation with other partners and influencers so that we can carry on this work that's really important to our Floridians.
Thanks, Michelle. So if those of you who have questions, please go ahead and submit those in your box under your control panel. And again, you may need to hit the orange arrow to open up your control panel if it's closed on the right side of your screen. One question that came through for you and John Michelle is, obviously your concierge coach model is what's providing a lot of that support and a lot of that really insider knowledge. As you and I were chatting before and planning for this webinar, we were sharing how it's almost like you got to know a guy to sort of know what to ask and how to know the alternative ways that maybe students can build up credit and get to the finish line a little quicker. So can you, first of all, can you give some examples of, you know, working with some of your students? What were some of the things that they brought in and some of those unique things that your coaches were able to help them with that did shorten that path to completion, that might give some of our listeners some new ideas in terms of how to help their adult students?
Sure, absolutely. So I think a key factor of our work is that we start with assessing where the student is. We're going to ask them and we're going to help them find their unofficial transcripts so we can identify really what is it that they've done already. We're also going to talk about their work experience, what type of real specific industry experience they may have. And then we're also going to ask them what are their goals. So many of our students come in and they say, I want to just finish what I started. What's the quickest path to completing a degree? I have the job that I need. I just need to finish my degree. And other students say, you know, I just started and I didn't like where I was focusing on my education. And now I want to, you know, explore something completely different. So we look at those particular options in a different way. But really, some of our students, such as I'll mention James. We talked to him last week and he was a graduate of FIU. He told us that he started on the path on his own, and what stopped him originally to returning to college was that he had business courses that were 10 years old and he couldn't find an institution that would take those courses. So through our partner networks, we did find an institution that would take his courses and he was able to continue on. Another way that we help students is by explaining that CLEP has partnered with the Modern States Education Alliance. And CLEP is an opportunity for people to show that they have a competency or proficiency of a course through an exam. It's offered through the College Board, but the Modern States Education Alliance has a program called Freshman Year Free. They have 33 free online courses that people can take that prepare them for a CLEP exam. So in the example of students who maybe have credits that they took a class years ago, but they don't have the grade to meet that requirement today, or they have some general education requirements such as humanities or communications that they want to kind of get out of the way. That's something that they could start today. They can enroll in a free class, and you can find it on the website, and I think there's a handout too, a free online class that prepares them to take that CLEP exam, which I think is wonderful. And that's one less course they may have to take, because what we know is we need to get them to those courses that are going to really count towards their degree completion and their workplace experience as quickly as possible to keep them engaged and feeling like they're progressing quickly. So and then a transient student is another option that many people don't realize they can explore. Sometimes people might get to the end of their program, and for whatever reason, that institution hasn't offered the course they need to finish up their degree. Well, the state of Florida will allow students to go to other institutions to take that same degree. And because of our common course numbering system, it's a really easy process to take a required course at another institution and just transfer it back. Another area that we help students get credit or navigate that option is through prior learning assessment. So someone with 30+ years of work experience in IT and some industry credentials, we help them understand what type of portfolio or what type of process they would need to go through for each of our institutions in order to request college credit and help them move forward with their degree completion a little bit quicker. And those are just a few of the ways that students can accelerate to degree completion through CLEP, transient student courses, of course their transfer courses, and prior learning assessment of prior work experience or military experience.
Thanks, Michelle. That's great. And I think a lot of people may have a particular area of interest and expertise that they could qualify for CLEP, but I think they might feel a little intimidated to be doing that so many years later. So it's exciting to know that Modern States is offering that preparation. Now, one of the questions that came in from Alicia is, how does a university join the partnership network of schools that are partnered with you?
Well, I think that's a great question, and it would start really with a conversation that I'd be happy to coordinate of what offerings the institution has. So through our legislative statute, these programs have to be fully online. That addresses the accessibility of meeting the needs of any student throughout the state. They have access to a fully online program. And then we have a common application process. So as we are working with students, they actually apply through our application that as we're working with them and helping them decide which institution would be best for them, we route that application directly to the institution so they don't have to go through yet another application process. And so it's another way of really streamlining. So I would be happy to speak with Alicia or anyone else about ways that we could partner together.
Great, Michelle, thanks. Alicia, obviously you see Michelle's email address on the screen, so I encourage you to reach out to her and any other colleges that are listening that might also be interested. Beth asked for some best practices for getting institutional buy-in for prior learning assessments. As you and I both know, those can be a tricky conversation. And so, have you had some experience in getting some of your partner institutions to be, find some ways to make that an easier process?
Right. Well, it is tricky, and honestly, it's different from at every institution that we've worked with. But I do know that some institutions that are really addressing this particular option for students are focusing on courses designed to help students develop that portfolio. And I think that's one best practice, is that if you have a course that a student can maybe take that helps them navigate the portfolio requirements for every course that they think they can get credit for based on their work experience, then that kind of helps give institutional buy-in, because it's somewhat of a vetted process. You're not just leaving it up to a student and a particular person to determine. You're going through more of a process of allowing a student to get the support they need to really put together a good portfolio of what indicates they've already earned that particular credit through the workplace. So I would say that is one area, is through the portfolio development and the support that you provide students and maybe even faculty to assess that. And then the other thing is the conversation about this population of students is continuing to grow. I think it's one that can no longer be ignored. And there was recently a report from the Chronicle of Higher Education that addressed that particular issue, is that we need students to go back to college and earn their post-secondary credential to be prepared for the workforce that we'll need in the future. And not only for, our particular needs, but for the student themselves. The workplace is changing, the actual work is changing, and we need to help people retool their skills today for the jobs of tomorrow.
Great. I'm not sure if this question can be answered on this call, but I'll throw it out there. Kellyanne wants to know, if somebody earned a college degree from another country and wants to get an equivalency here, do you know where they would find out what they need to get that equivalency? Is that something you're familiar with?
I do know that there are ways that you can have your credits evaluated into a U.S. Process, but I would start with that particular institution that you're interested in, and every institution has information about how you go from getting your credentials from another country translated into what the equivalent in the United States would be.
Great, thanks. I want to say there's even services that do that, but I don't want to misspeak.
There are.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are.
Okay, Jill is asking, what are your recommendations for adult students who have no access to the internet and or personal computer? And as you know, broadband coverage is an issue, yes, particularly in our rural communities. So this is a real concern in terms of accessibility.
Mm-hmm. And you're absolutely correct. The rural population where the internet just is not strong is a very important piece. And I know at Complete Florida, we're continuing to look at ways to address that particular population. Right now, we're in the process of looking for grant opportunities or looking for different partnerships that we can address that. At the moment, our recommendation is, of course, finding a library or trying to connect with employers that might have the internet access that people need. And I think it's going to continue to be a very tough lift, but it's one that is continually focused on, and it's going to improve over time. Unfortunately, it's something that we've got to continue to work on. That's just a really tough area to address, but I know that it is being considered, and it's something that is not forgotten, and we've got to continue to focus on that. So I'm also looking for ways to connect with how can we route people to the reliable internet sources so that we can get them access to these online programs.
Yeah, and I think what you're bringing up is some solutions can be handled at the individual institution and or community level. Some need a
Mhm.
statewide solution, and some may even need a national
Right.
solution, such as
Right.
simplifying the FAFSA. So both of our
Mhm.
organizations are part of networks at those larger scales, trying to move the needle on some of those things. I do know a presentation on broadband coverage in the state of Florida was made
Mhm.
to the legislature, the education committee, not too long ago. And so I know it's certainly being discussed, and we are not the only ones aware that there's an open issue there. But, to Michelle's
Mhm.
point, some of it is going to require a broader solution than what we can do, at the institution level.
Mhm.
So Michelle, do you have a sense of how many of your students come in and have a pretty clear-cut idea of what they want to study and or where, or are they really coming in and saying, help me figure out even my
Mhm.
future?
you know, uh, Much different from the traditional student who is in high school and trying to prepare to go to college. The adult learner trying to return to college has that workplace or life experience that has actually exposed them to different types of careers. So what we're finding is that many of our students are coming in and saying, I want a career in this field, or I want to complete my degree in this major. So we're not finding that as many people need support in, career navigation, although some still do. Most of our students have that life and workplace experience that has really kind of given them exposure to what the options are out there. And that's very different from the traditional population of students. So as we address how to prepare for a career, it's almost more so on the back end than it is initially on the front end, because they know what type of industry, what kind of job they want to pursue, typically, for the most part. It's just how to get there is where the key work is for this population.
Yeah,
But
that's
we do have, we do have a way to help students assess that. And so, and we can use that in different levels. The state of Florida has the My Career Shines career assessment portal. It's a very robust offering. So the way that we help students navigate My Career Shines is trying to identify what their true needs are. So if it is truly career exploration, there are assessments they can take to find out career options that meet their interests. But maybe they already know what they want. There are other tools within My Career Shines that are very, very helpful, and those are the resume builder and an e-portfolio that helps students map out what they've done and present their resume and present an online profile of their resumes. So I think that navigation of tools towards career support is very helpful for this audience, but we have to know where to place them.
Yeah, great point. And great tools. It's nice to know that some of those resources are online and anyone has access to them. So, we have time for about one more question, and I'm hoping John can give us a little sense of, a lot of times when we're focused on helping students, we can focus on the nuts and bolts of, getting access to financial aid and in transportation or flexibility or all those things. And yet, there's a whole human being that's walking in the door. And I'm wondering if John can share a little bit about, what's that adult student thinking and feeling as they're walking in the door, and knowing that maybe they haven't had a perfectly smooth experience with education in the past, and give us a sense of what does that transition look like for them on more of that emotional level.
Yeah, Kathy. So that's a very valid deterrent, so to speak. As you get older, I grew up in a generation where we didn't all get a trophy just for showing up. So, failure and success are very real things to me. And so knowing what my transcript did look like and knowing how bad those grades were, you don't feel like someone, as much as I feel like someone should say, oh, well, you were 18, we can let that slide because you're much more mature and responsible now, and some may argue that, but anyway, but there is that genuine knot in your stomach about, oh man, well, what if they don't take me? I mean, I've got these really bad grades. I bet if I just went to the registrar's office, they wouldn't take me. So why are they going to take me through this program? So yeah, that psychological barrier is very valid as you do try to come back. And again, as I said in my particular case, when you've tried this a couple times, you've taken a class here or there or something at a community college or that sort of thing, that's still not the same. And you even look at those as failures, like, okay, I took this class, but then, whatever happened. And so I quit for 2 more years. And so all those failures tend to build up and make you apprehensive of getting into the process.
Yeah, that's a great perspective to help, all of the folks on our call that are looking to help adult students, because it's not just the nuts and bolts, it's really helping them feel comfortable that yes, they can do this. This is doable. Other adults have come before them and have overcome some of that history. So thank you so much for sharing that. We are going to poll one last time to try and wrap things up here. This is an all that apply again. What alternative sources of potential college course credit are you and or your students aware of? So we've talked today about CLEP exams, qualified workforce training, prior learning assessments, course substitutions, and transient student options. So check all that you all are aware of. We'll give the poll a couple more seconds, give people a chance to vote here, and then we'll go ahead and close it out. Let's just do that. Okay. One more sec. Great. Okay, let's go ahead and share that. It's looking like CLEP exams is the winner, which is great, especially knowing that our students can now get the support they need to prepare for those CLEP exams. Transient student options, 65% course substitution. So a little bit of everything, but CLEP is definitely the winner there. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and change the controls back to me. Sorry. Here we go. Okay. All right. So let's move on here. Okay, so first, many thanks to Michelle and John for sharing his story. I think it's so helpful for all of us to get to really hear from that student and get the student perspective. What I have found in working with adult students is once they accomplish their goal, they're our biggest and brightest champions in terms of helping the next round of adult students succeed. So many thanks. And Michelle, thanks so much for sharing all of the information from Complete Florida. They're a great resource, even if your students don't intend to go through their portal. There's lots of helpful resources on their site, so I encourage you to check that out. Next, let me make a brief plug for Save the Date of our 2018 Florida College Access Network Summit. We are super excited. We're expecting this to be our biggest, brightest, and best yet. If you are intrigued by some of the information that Michelle shared today, she will be leading 2 sessions. One, a pre-summit session on coaching to completion, increasing degree attainment for returning adults with Complete College America and the Graduate Network. That is the morning before the official summit opens. But that session is open to all, so I encourage you to sign up for that. She's also leading a breakout session on alternative credit and adult learners in changing our culture around that. So that should be a great session. We also have 2 more sessions, breakout sessions that are focused on adult learners, closing equity gaps for adult learners, innovative strategies for communities, and that is with Dakota Paulicki of the Lumina Education Foundation. And then finally, A Step into the Middle Class, Advancing Education Equity for Underserved Adults with Goodwill of North Florida. All of those are looking to be some fantastic breakout sessions. We are also thrilled to welcome keynote speaker Jamie Cassip, who is Google's education evangelist. He's got a great, unique way of inspiring students to envision a compelling future that motivates action. We have over 30 breakout sessions that include college access, post-secondary success, college affordability, college readiness, and workforce development, data measurement, and collective impact. So I encourage you to sign up soon. Finally, join us for our next webinar, which is with the Better Make Room group. Eric Waldo will be joining my colleague Amy Bollock on our next call. Oops, I need to make sure you get to see the most important piece. $500 for College Decision Day. They are offering some micro grants for schools that might be interested in celebrating their student success through College Decision Day. If you're interested in either one of those events, please register at thefloridacollegeaccess.org/events. And with that, I am signing off. Thank you all for joining us today. I hope it was a great session for you. Take care.